Coming to you from somewhere between the open road and your next confession line, today we're redefining what spring break can really be like. Forget the stereotypes of endless parties and chaos. The ultimate good time comes from connection, service, and a little bit of carefree timelessness. We're going to share why hitting the road, helping others, and slowing down to actually enjoy the moment will leave you feeling refreshed, inspired, and maybe even a little holy, some would say. Buckle up. This is the All In Podcast.
Bada bing, bada boom. Bing, bada bing, bada bing, bada boom. Bada bing, bada boom.
All right, gentlemen. We have each individually braked during spring back in our day. I'd love to hear from each of you some of your favorite spring break experiences.
Hands down, not even close. Sitting with Clayton Ward Caldwell on the white sandy beaches of Kingston, Jamaica in 2015. So the situation was we went on a mission trip to Kingston, Jamaica. Amazing experience. It was an all men's trip because the place we were going was somewhat difficult. The service we were doing involved a certain amount of manual labor strength. And so our missionary, John, good friend of ours, took us down to Kingston. I'll never forget, we get off the airport in Kingston and we're waiting for the car. And I'm like, they probably got Ubers here. It's not an Uber. It's an open flatbed truck that looked like it was probably used to move cattle. And they pull up and I'm like, there's no way. Sure enough, the brother who we were working with goes, all right, hop in, boys. And we hop in the bed of an open air truck. And that just kind of dictated what the whole experience was going to be like. Oh, yeah. So we served the poor for 6 days, really powerful in the poorest of the poor slums of Kingston, Jamaica. And then the highlight for me, which is a great example of just the beauty of good fellowship, is we served the poor for 6 days. And then on the last day, we celebrated and we went out to the beach. The funny part was it was March, so none of us had a base tan. And it was also Jamaica, so they don't sell sunscreen. Me and Clayton got the worst sunburns of our entire life. On the beach for 6 hours, no sunscreen, pasty white. And the next 2 weeks, I couldn't wear a backpack.
I remember being so jealous of this trip that you guys went on. So it was our freshman year. We were on the same Bible study, and I remember hearing the pitch for this mission trip. I was like, why would I want to go on a mission trip?
You were scared, weren't you? You were scared?
I was scared of you.
It's a recurring theme on the show.
No, I just remember thinking, like, why would I want to go do something for other people? You know? And I went on a trip with some other friends. We took a big road trip to Colorado, and it was wonderful. It was a great trip. And I remember thinking, like, those sons of guns are having probably like a horrible experience. Like, we're going to get back and I'm going to be telling about what a great time I had in Colorado. We went skiing, hiking. We went up what's that big staircase in Colorado Springs?
The Manitou Incline.
Oh, yeah. Like I did all these cool things, you know, and sure enough, I get back and I just keep hearing stories and stories about this trip. And I was like, man, I really missed out. And so for the next 4 years, I went on a collective 0 mission trips. But it did definitely impact some of the mission trips I lived through with some of my students whenever I was on campus as a missionary. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it was mission trips. I won a handful of mission trips during that time. But the most memorable for me, we called it our mission trip to Myrtle Beach.
You gotta go save the sea turtles.
I took
the dirty Myrtle.
The dirty Myrtle.
Yeah.
I took a group of, it was like 6 or 7 seniors to Myrtle Beach, and we just had the time of our lives. It was so fun. We went to the beach. Obviously, we played golf at all these different Myrtle Beach courses. That was super fun. And this was like my first time ever playing golf, and so I'm bad now, but I was even worse then. But we did that. We went to medieval times.
No way.
Yeah, it was so fun.
With a bunch of dudes.
Oh, we got so many pictures. We crowned one of our faithful listeners, Dirty Josh. We got him to be the king of medieval times, and we got him a picture with the queen at the end of it. We just had the time of our lives. It was so fun.
That would be a great bachelor party bit. is get dressed up like medieval characters and go to medieval times. Have a couple beers in the parking lot, tailgate it a little bit, and then just go rip some turkey legs.
It was amazing. Like the turkey legs hit just right. You know, and we bring so loud and obnoxious. It was so fun. It was a time of our lives.
You know, I'm going to piggyback off of John Michael here a little bit. When I think of all the spring breaks that I went on, I think going to Kingston, Jamaica was one of the most memorable. And I think one of the best things about that spring break going on a mission trip was that one of the things that they do on the trips is that you don't have your phone. And you also don't really know the schedule until the day of. And so you're just going throughout, you know, the 6 or 7 days while we're in Jamaica, and you don't really know what's going to happen that day until it happens. But I think one of my all-time favorite memories, John Michael, you're going to remember this, is when we played soccer with all of the local Jamaican kids.
Clayton was getting megged by like 5-year-olds.
Far better than me. I mean, these are literally like 8 or 9-year-old kids, and we're playing. It was literally just like a dirt field, and they had goals, but they didn't have nets behind the goals, and I was just getting destroyed so much that I had fallen a couple of times because I lost my footing in my Asics that I brought on the mission trip, and I just remember both of my knees being completely bloodied up as I'm on the mission. It was
so funny. He's like running down the field limping. He's got blood pouring down his legs. Everyone's like, Clayton, just stop playing. Like, we can't have you injured in, you know, Kingston, Jamaica. And he just kept going, took the blood, wiped it as eye black on his eyes, and we were rolled.
Jose, it sounds like you went on probably a couple great road trips. What is it about the road trip on spring break that's so special? I mean, you could make the choice to fly, you know, maybe you invest that little extra money or maybe use points, but there's something about doing a road trip that just makes a trip like that more special. Why do you think that is?
I think that my two initial thoughts are suffering and being trapped, right? I think there's something fun about the night before, you know, everyone's like, hey, when are we getting up? When are we leaving? And it's always the responsible one that's like, all right, everyone be ready by 4 a.m. And everyone's mad at him, you know?
And then it's 7 a.m. and you get in the car.
But it's like everyone gets in the car and everyone's miserable, just sleep deprived, you know, hungry. Do we want coffee now? Do we want to save it for a little bit down the road? I think that's suffering. Then as the road trip goes on, you know, your legs start getting a little achy, you start getting a little stir crazy. That's part of it, like doing something like that together. But the other part is like you're just in a car together for such a long time that I just feel like you have no other option but to connect. And it's like when I think of conversations, sometimes things come up, and it's like navigating conversation can be like navigating like a road trip. And there are all these off ramps that you could take, but you know, if you're just at the office or in college between classes, having conversation, you're like, okay, I don't have the time to explore all these off ramps. But on a road trip, you're like, I got nothing better to do. Let's get off every single exit and let me just ask all these questions that I would not hear about in any other scenario than during this road trip.
I would say there's like 3 stages of a road trip. So stage 1 is what I call like the rager stage. You get in the car, everyone's pumped to be there. It's early, and the music is on full blast.
Sun's not up.
You were screaming Blink 182 for an hour straight. You put on Eric Church Springsteen. The windows are rolled down. You're having the time of your life. Let's say the first phase, hour, 2 hours, 3 hours max. Then you move to the second stage, and that is the I want to kill you stage. Where you're 3 hours in, the guy next to you is just driving you crazy because he's man-spreading. He's got his legs totally spread out to where you have no leg room anymore. And that stage lasts like 1, maybe 2 hours, and everyone's just kind of quiet but resentful of the guy next to him. And then you enter the golden hour of a road trip, stage number 3, which is the low-key, maybe there's some light Gregory Alan Eisenkopf playing in the background. And you just have deep.
You kind of lose control of the aux.
Lose control of the aux
because you're so into that conversation.
You're so into it, and that's the point of the road trip where you just have those powerful conversations. So it's like stage 1, rager. Stage 2, I want to kill you. Stage 3, powerful conversation.
And I also think another, it's kind of forgotten part of the road trip is things that you normally wouldn't find that funny. become hilarious.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
Once you're
another
like
stage.
6 hours in,
The delirious stage.
hilarious stage.
it was like the smallest thing. I don't know if you guys remember. We took a road trip. I think it was our senior year of college to Kansas City, and there was one point where we stopped at a gas station, and one of the people we were with just got like snacks that none of us would normally get, and we thought it was hilarious.
Was it corn nuts?
No, it was. It was like corn nuts, a banana, a protein bar, and like muscle milk. It is a combination. It's like it's not that funny, but in the moment we could not stop roasting this guy.
Yeah. I remember another one, John Michael. We were road tripping to Auburn for a football game, and I just remember I was in the front seat. I wasn't driving, but I looked behind me, and John Michael was sound asleep with a McDonald's bag over his head. It's greasy from the McMuffins that were in there earlier, and the hash browns just over his head with the eye holes poked out, just absolutely sound asleep.
Another funny memory, and I also do feel like in road trips, just funny things happen. This was I took a trip to Ole Miss with our missionary Alec, and I remember we stopped in Shreveport, which is a dangerous place to stop in general. We stopped. It was late at night. This was one of those road trips that we had to leave like after class on Thursday probably. And someone approached us and was like, "You guys like music?" That was the introduction.
That was the start?
And Alec and I were like, "Whoa, where'd you come from?" You know. So you guys like music? And we're like, yeah, we love music. And he goes, "All right, let me know what y'all think." Hands us a CD with like nothing on it, just a blank CD, and like walks away, like it like disappears into the night. And it was just he gave us his mixtape. It was some of the most awful music I've ever heard. It was awful. Well, Alec and I put it on, and I don't think we lasted half a song.
Was it? What was it? Country?
Rap. It was a rap mixtape. It was the worst thing. But Alec and I were just laughing so much of like, what do you mean let me know what y'all think? Like,
gonna
we're just gonna
contact
wait
you?
around at this gas station until you appear out of the darkness again to
Leave
be like,
him a note.
"Hey, that was really good."
Yeah. You know, there's something about going on a road trip that just creates space for a friendship. Like you're saying, Jose, you said you're just kind of stuck in the car. John Mike, you're saying you go through these different phases. You experience a lot of life while you're on a road trip. Why do you think it's important for us to create that space in order for us to have those deeper connection moments in friendships? And why is the road trip an essential part of that?
So we talked about this in an earlier episode of the All In podcast, The Art of Conversation, and how guys don't do well when they're across from another man in terms of conversation. The road trip is perfect because you're not looking at each other. Unless you're in one of those remember those old school Volvos where there was a seat facing the back of the car?
Like the bucket seats.
Yeah,
turn.
and they could turn. It's just incredible cars. But, generally you're not looking at the guy next to you. You're just staring ahead at the open road. And there's something about that where the mind starts running, the words start flowing, the emotions start bubbling to the surface, maybe some emotions that you've been shoving down for a lot of years. And I think it's that shared experience of looking at a common object being the road, and your mind's not necessarily on the conversation, and it just flows. Mm-hmm. It just flows.
The best too, I think, is when I feel like in every single road trip I was on in college, at one point or another, we would talk about girls.
Oh yeah.
Dating.
Yeah.
And breakups. And it described a lot of what you were describing. So there was one guy that, was just looking out the window as they were talking, was looking out the windshield, at the open road, maybe getting a little teary-eyed, if it's a breakup, or just like getting like blushing a little bit if it's someone they like. But it's just, you don't look at each other. You're just looking at something else.
And it's quiet, and then he randomly goes, "So do you think I should marry her?" And it's like, you're not even dating. Who?
So I would argue that the best seat on the road trip is obviously shotgun. But the reason that I say that is not because it's shotgun and obviously you have a seat to yourself and you're not driving. I would say that it's the best seat because when you're in the back, you don't have any responsibilities. You can fall asleep. You can look at your phone. You can have a conversation. You can just kind of do whatever you want. The person that is driving obviously has to keep their eyes on the road and drive, and you can have some light music on, But then you guys all know this. This is like man rule. What's the person in shotgun? What's their responsibility on a road trip?
Navigation, music,
Yep.
And
inspiration.
making sure the other person's awake.
That's what I was gonna say is making sure that the other person is awake. Your job is to be there with the person that's driving the car. And I would argue that the best conversations happen when you're sitting shotgun in the car. Do you agree?
Without a doubt. And I would elevate that to even putting a timestamp on it. The graveyard shift in the shotgun is best conversation.
Yes.
Everyone
Because
else is asleep.
You can kind of gossip about the people behind you. And they're asleep, so they don't know. But when it's dark, you stopped at McDonald's, grabbed a little McCafe coffee, and it's just rolling. It's dark outside. It's, I don't know, kind of emotional. Like, I like music when you're having a deep conversation, like some lo-fi instrumentals even. Good Interstellar Hans Zimmer soundtrack. Boom.
Very good. You know, the thing about a road trip is that eventually the road trip ends. And for the purposes of this podcast, we're talking about spring break. So we're going to take a break real quick, and we'll be right back after this.
Hey, this is Clayton from the All In Podcast. What if I told you that God was moving in places that you've never even imagined? That's exactly what you'll see in the new series Where Love Leads, a 5-episode miniseries brought to you by Focus. Travel with us across the world to see people whose lives have been transformed by Christ and see the power of mission come alive. Tap the link or scan the QR code to watch Where Love Leads now in the Seek Replay app.
All right, so you guys just drove 15 hours in the car. You're at a beach somewhere. Maybe you're in the mountains. I don't really know. I'd love to hear it. Some of us went on mission trips in college. Some of us did road trips. Today, how would you describe your ideal spring break vacation?
Are we talking with families? Or are we still single?
You're in college.
College, okay.
You're in college, and you've got to plan a spring break. What are you doing? What does it look like?
So the first and most critical element is your team. Who are you going with? Because you have some dudes in your life who you love to death, but you do not want to travel with them. We all have that guy in our life. I'm looking at you, Brother Peter, who you're just like, I don't want to travel with that guy. He's going to be a Debbie Downer. So who you bring is most important. You need to make sure 5, 6 guys. I would put the magic number somewhere in that 5 to 6 range. 3, too much, because 2 guys get along really well. 1 guy's kind of left out. More than 6, now you're in a situation where we need a minivan. I don't know if we can afford that. So 5's the perfect. You can do a sedan. You can do a crossover SUV. Any size car is going to work. There's also enough guys to split the drive time up with, so your team's most important. Number 2 is your destination. Where are you going? I think there's 2 arguments here. There's your beach guys, and then there's your mountain guys. And then there's kind of the guys in between that want to do the California. We're going to hit LA and Yosemite in the same round. Really smart. Little twofer. I love the mountains, frankly. Some people might disagree with me here, but living in Colorado, I love doing stuff together, having some physical activity, and then having some chill time back at the Airbnb or at the hotel to where you do something physical, you come back, take a nap, 3 p.m., cook some dinner, have some good conversation, play a little poker, take everybody's money, go all in. And then after that, you always got to think about, is there a person, is there a thing that you want to visit? Like, is there kind of like one kind of point in the trip that's like the highlight of the trip? Maybe it's bagging a 14er. Maybe it's like hitting this certain church or something. Maybe it's seeing a friend that you haven't seen in a while on the road trip. I think those are kind of your 3, your team, your destination, and then you got to have the high point, the mountaintop experience on the trip.
Yeah.
Jose?
I would agree with that. I for starting with destination, I think you can make the beach fun, right? I just spoke earlier in this episode about going to the beach, but frankly, I think we spent maybe a total of 4 hours on an actual beach.
What?
There were a lot of medieval times in Myrtle Beach.
Every night.
We were just doing things, and I agree with John. And I think mountains just make that a little easier to do things, to do physical things. Now, you can do that at the beach, and we had a great time, and I think it's still awesome to do that. But at least for me, when I think of spring break, I think of skiing. I think of the mountains. I think of that. Summertime is when I think of the beach. And I agree with the group. And one thing you didn't add, which I think is crucial to every group, you need a responsible person. You need a glue guy.
Oh,
right? When things get feisty, you need
point.
that one person that's going to bring everyone back. You need the mysterious guy. The guy that most of the people on the trip don't know that well.
That's such a great take.
Because it adds so much, you know, as you get to discover this person as a group.
That is a great point.
You need the chiller, and then you need the kind of crazy one, the one that's like, "Hey, let's go do this. Hey, no, we're gonna go to LA and we're gonna go to Yosemite, right? Or hey, let's go skiing 6 days in a row." You know, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then we're gonna come back, take a quick break, and then
we're gonna ski or run shirtless, and I'm gonna be the one to lead the charge.
Because you need someone to get everyone out of the comfort zone. Right?
Could I add one guy?
Yeah.
You need the rich guy. You need the guy whose parents are loaded and they gave him the credit card.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'll cover it.
You don't need it, but it's nice to have.
I mean, let's be honest. There's a lot of reasons why certain people were invited on certain trips. It's not because you liked them. It was because you knew at the end of the day they were going to pick up the bill when it came push to shove.
You know, I would argue that there's another spring break character, or maybe just even a character in a friend group, which is the wanderer. You know, that person that you just never really know where he went.
A little spacey.
He's a little spacey. he just kind of went off and did his own thing. And
where did he go?
Where did that guy go?
Where's Drew? Yeah.
So you guys said mountains. I would 100% say beach every single time. And the reason for that is because there's something about the beach. Like I don't necessarily just want to go on a trip just to go do something. Like I would argue that when you go to the beach, you can have a variety of different experiences. You know, you go to the beach.
It's more versatile. It's
more versatile. You have a great time. You can kind of lounge around. You hang out. You have a couple beers. You go out in the water. You're playing, different beach games. You're playing loud music. Then you fall asleep. You take a nap. Then you go back to the house that you're in or whatever. You shower up. You go get a nice dinner. Then you come back to the house. You can watch a movie. There is nothing better than going out to dinner after showering and napping and your skin's a little tight from being sunburnt and being under the sun all day. Mm-hmm. That meal is just always the most absolutely glorious food that you can put in your body.
You feel like really good looking too.
Yeah.
Because the sea salt's in your hair.
You undo one of the an extra button that you would never undo back home.
It's like the only socially acceptable place to have a shirt that's only halfway buttoned.
Yeah.
Is beach dinner.
I think in modern culture that kind of idealizes the spring break beach trip. Where you just go out, you drink a ton, you have a good time. You're not really there. You're just there honestly to drink, and to just kind of escape for a little bit. I think what a spring break trip like that misses is the opportunity for connection. And I would argue that when a good spring break has one of two things. One, connection with the group that you're in. And so it's really easy. I mean, we're talking about what makes for a good road trip. You could still go on a road trip and everyone be on their phones. You could still go to the beach or go to the mountains, and not create a space for people to connect with one another. If you're just going on a spring break trip to drink or to escape, you're not really, filling your cup. There's not really like a reset that happens. There's not like a refresher that happens on the trip. The other thing that I would say makes for a good trip is really an opportunity for service. And the reason I say that is because when the mission trip experience that we had in college was that, you're doing something hard, but you're also doing something hard with a group of people, and it creates a shared experience of something that's difficult, and you're pursuing some good together. So I want to tackle that a little bit. Is that what does it look like to find purpose, even in the midst of play, if you will, while you're having a good time?
Well, I think there's two ways. One, you go on a trip that's inherently purposeful, like a mission trip,
right?
Like even a trip like one spring break in college, I went fly fishing with my dad, and it was, the purpose was not to fly fish. The purpose was to spend quality time together. It was our last spring break before I got married. I had just gotten engaged that year, and so my dad and I and my brother were like, "Hey, let's do kind of one last boys trip before JM gets married." And so the purpose was not necessarily found in the type of trip. We fly fishing, we had a great time, went out on the river, had some beers, had some nice dinners. But the purpose was inherently meaningful, which is that we're here to celebrate this reality that our life is going to look different after this. And I think about me and Clayton. We went on a road trip one time together right before he got married and right before I had my first kid. And we went and did some fun stuff. We went whitewater rafting, went and hiked some mountains, went camping. The worst night of camping of our lives, actually.
Yes.
But the purpose of the trip was to spend time together for the last time before our lives changed. And so the trip doesn't have to be purposeful in its direction, but you can take a trip that's fun and turn it into inherently meaningful. Then there's the flip side, which is like the trip itself is purposeful. Mission trip's a great example. Or spending time. I know a lot of folks like to do like a little retreat, for example, over spring break, or even adults, take a family trip where you're taking time out of the craziness of life to go spend a little dedicated retreat time as a family. And so those are purposeful in that the trip itself has inherent goodness behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I think you bring up an interesting point, John Michael. The reason that you went on that trip with your dad and with your brothers, because you recognized that something in your life was changing. And I think particularly for the college student to recognize that, frankly, your spring break, your summer break, your winter break, you're not really going to have times like that for the rest of your life. You're not going to have a month in December where you just get to take entirely off. You're not going to have the 3 months over the summer that you have entirely off, or maybe you have an internship or something like that. And then spring break, you'll have an opportunity for vacation, but your life is going to be inherently different. And so the question is, how do you make the best of that opportunity while you still have it? I think another thing here with spring break is the idea of just carefree timelessness. So we talked about how, when we went on this mission trip, John Michael, we didn't have our phones. We took our watches off, and it was just an opportunity to say, I don't really know what's going to happen next. I'm just kind of here for it. Something's going to happen. I can't plan for anything else. And so it's important to create those opportunities in friendships where there's, you have some agenda on the trip. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And then there's just a bunch of unplanned time where you just get to be with one another. Right?
Absolutely.
What about the guy he's going on a trip? Maybe it's spring break. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just like you're a young adult, or you're in your 30s and the boys are taking a golf trip, for example, where you're kind of maybe one of the only faithful guys on the trip. So the trip is not like oriented towards, we're going to pray together. We're going to go to mass together. But you're hanging out with these guys for 5 or 6 days. What do you do in that scenario? Because I feel like a lot of our listeners may be in that situation where they want to go hang out with their friends on a trip, but they're a little worried about, if I go on that trip, am I going to drink too much because everybody else is doing that? Or am I still going to be able to make time for prayer even though they're not fitting that into our schedule? What would you tell that guy, Jose?
That can be really hard, right? Peer pressure is a real thing that can be difficult to navigate. I want to acknowledge that, but I want to start out somewhere else, right? When you're going on a trip and you feel like not everyone holds the same values, the most important thing is that you have to stick strong to your own, right? But you don't want to be the guy that's overly pushy. These are still your friends. You still love them, and it's good to be with them. Right, and so you want to be the guy that's like, hey, I'm going to wake up in the morning and make some time for prayer if anyone wants to join. Mm-hmm. But that's it. I'm not going to, later in the day be like, hey, Joe Michael, slept in, huh?
Yeah.
What's going on? Right. Right, so you want to walk that line. I don't know if right now, and I want to hear from y'all, I have something on how do you navigate that peer pressure, but I think you definitely need to come in with a game plan of like, okay, I know the general structure of this trip, right? And I know maybe for this trip, right, this isn't fully how I order my life. Maybe for this trip, I might have to pick between going to daily mass or praying. Right. Or maybe it's a Monday through Friday trip and we're in a remote location and mass is kind of hard to get to. We only have one car and other people are doing things. Okay. So, hey, I'm going to focus on I want to make sure I pray 30 minutes in the morning. And you have to hold strong to that. So you have to come in with that plan of when are you hitting those things. But you also want to come in with a plan of, hey, if you do struggle with peer pressure, right? If you know that your friends on this trip are going to get absolutely blitzed. Yeah, you do have to come in with a plan of like, okay, hey, you know yourself. Is it better to, like, maybe you just won't drink this trip if that's a real temptation. Or maybe you come with a game plan of like, okay, I know I'm going to limit myself to 3 drinks no matter what. Now, that's a lot easier said than done. Absolutely. That's where I would start. What do y'all think?
I'm going to take a different angle here and just say that, you know, I was talking with a friend recently who just went on a bachelor party with some college friends. And this particular friend's life looks a lot different now than it did in college. I think that's probably a question that some people have is like, hey, I have these friends that, you know, I used to live a different life and now I've changed, but now I'm going on this, you know, this bachelor party and I'm still expected to be the same guy that I was before, you know, but I've had this conversion and now my priorities are different and the way that I live is different. And I was talking to him about how he handled the bachelor party. And he said it was just, you know, I mean, guys were drinking, not really connecting with one another. It was just kind of all about, you know, the fun that could be had. And so there was one evening where, you know, there was a little fire pit in the backyard. And so he went and got some firewood and he started a bonfire in the backyard. And then when all the guys were kind of done with the, you know, different drinking games, which, you know, he still participated in, you know, but then he invited all the guys over to the bonfire and they sat around and he just sat down and asked his friend, he's like, hey, you know, you're getting married next month. Like, what are you feeling right now? Like, what's going on? Like, what are your thoughts? Like, what are you excited about? Like, what are you scared about? And just created that space for other people to engage and connect with one another, which is just him stepping up in leadership.
For sure.
You know, and being afraid to see, okay, there's when you're with a group of friends like that, the good thing that's going to happen is that you guys are going to be with each other and you have an opportunity for connection. But sometimes that doesn't happen. It's not prioritized on the trip. So how can you step up and be the leader yourself and say, how do I create a space for people to actually engage in good, real conversation?
Yeah, there's a reality that you have to be the one to bring that in, right? And it's not mutually exclusive to everything else we said, but it's definitely like, hey, you have had this amazing experience, this conversion. And now maybe what's happening is that now God's inviting you to invite them into deeper conversation. And you cannot shy away from that. Do not do them and yourself that disservice from shying away from bringing the group together into a deeper conversation. Or maybe it starts with one-on-one, right? Me and John Michael kind of get into it a little bit when we're on our golf round. I specifically sit with him and share a cart so I can, you know, ask about his life. And then maybe at dinner I sit next to Clayton to ask about his life. And then at night, you know, I bring them together, you know, I kind of gather a group and I'm kind of pulling things from our conversations to try to help them connect and lead the conversation elsewhere.
It's great points. I think to add to everything that's been said, just the don't underestimate the value of the example that you set on that trip. So, and I love this topic because I do think a lot of guys find themselves here. And I think the bachelor party is a great example. That's kind of our life now, is not as many spring break trips, but a ton of bachelor parties.
Yeah.
I love bachelor parties.
I have so many friends in bachelor parties.
Right. They're a blast. But I think the example you said is way more important than, you know, if you evangelize or if you talk about God at the dinner table. It's the example of still go. I think that's a mistake some guys make, is they kind of take the I'm better than you approach and like, oh, I'm not going.
Yeah, you never want to take that. There is what's the word, like exception.
Yeah.
Of like, absolutely, if you know for a fact that this is going to cost you to sin, yes,
Right.
Step back.
Right.
But outside of that, yeah, please go.
Please go. And it can be as simple as like everyone's drinking and you're having some drinks with them. But after the second beer, after the third beer, you know, if it's over the course of time, after the fourth beer, you just take that example of like, hey, I'm just going to take a break, you know, for the next couple hours. You don't say that, but you do it. And you grab a Gatorade, you grab a water, and you just take a break while everyone keeps going. It could be as simple as taking time. My biggest thing is the mornings are crucial, because once the day gets rolling, it's really hard to take a step out. But be the first guy up. Be the first guy to serve. That's a critical element.
The guy that's cleaning up.
The guy that's cleaning
the
up.
hero
Yeah.
of the trip.
And no one wants to be the guy cleaning the dishes at the bachelor party. I saw this short on YouTube the other day, and it was called Guys on a Trip. And it's like they show up and they open the fridge, and it's like a 12 count of eggs, 90 beers, and then hot dogs. That's the only thing in the fridge. And they're like, "Hey, do we have plates?" I'm like, "Oh no, we didn't forget plates." "Oh, silverware. Someone got silverware." "Oh no, we didn't bring any silverware." "Oh great, we got hot dog buns, right?" "Nope, no hot dog buns." "Great, we'll just go ahead and grill the burgers or grill the hot dogs with our hands, and then we'll eat them by putting them on our beer and just biting like that." And I'm like, that's every guy's trip ever.
Absolutely.
But being the guy to clean the dishes, being the guy to get the coffee going in the morning before everyone else is awake, being the guy to sleep on the couch when everyone wants to be the first one to run in and claim the beds in the Airbnb. It's those kind of service elements that a lot of times speak louder to the character of a Christian than the words of a Christian.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And funny enough, Joe Michael and I were laughing about a tweet that we read earlier. That was
Please bring that up.
what was it? It was I just went on a trip with 9 of my closest friends, and no, it was from the West perspective. It was like my husband just went on a trip with 9 of his closest friends, and when he came back, I was asking him like, how are the marriages? How are the kids? How are like all their friends' lives, his friends' lives? And he said, "I don't know." And so I said, "Well, what did you talk about?" He said, "Well, we tried to name every U.S. capital, and then we started trying to name every African country." Which is so funny and so true.
Spot on.
But you can't let it stop there. Like, it is good to have that.
Yes.
But you definitely also need to push for the other side of the coin of having those deeper conversations. And again, it doesn't have to be like, "Hey, everyone gather around. What's everyone thankful for?
Yep.
What's everyone struggling with?"
Yes.
Right? It can just be a short, hey, like I said, I'm gonna be intentional about sitting next to this person at dinner, or sharing a cart with this person during our golf round today.
We are all in on meaningless conversations. We are all
Plenty of
in
those.
on meaningful conversations. We're all in on road trips. We're all in on creating lifelong memories, creating space for connection with one another. So if you're on a road trip right now, or you're not on a road trip right now, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. This is the All In Podcast.